back to another episode of In Between the Lines. Today's episode will be my last NBA lottery mock draft video and will be based off what I think the teams will actually do come draft day. So let's get right into it. All right, so starting off with the number one overall pick for the Atlanta Hawks, and with all the reports and rumors that I'm hearing, I don't foresee the Atlanta Hawks picking Alex Sarr here with with Alex Sarr not wanting to work out for the team. Maybe there's a small possibility of the Atlanta Hawks, doing the same thing that the Cleveland Cavaliers did and picking Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was another player who didn't want to play for the Cavs. He didn't even work out for the Cavaliers. He actually desired to play for OKC, but look how it's worked out for the Cavaliers, and then picking Evan Mobley, even though he didn't want to play there. They've had some success with Evan Mobley, so maybe they see that and just say, hey, if they can do it, why can't we? So maybe they do go Alex Sarr here, but I think the team will actually just play it safe especially with everything going on with the team and the uncertainty with Trae Young, DeJounte, Clint Capella, players like that. I think they'll get a player who actually wants to be there, who wants to make it work, and I think they'll be looking at Donovan Clingan and Zachary Reese-Shea, but overall, I have a feeling the Atlanta Hawks are just going to go with the player with the highest upside between the two, and with that being Zachary Reese-Shea. Zachary Reese-Shea, in my opinion, is the best 3-and-D prospect, and hopefully he can develop to even more than just a 3-and-D prospect, right? If he can develop more of a self-creating ability, then sky's the limit for him. He has great help side defense. He's pretty good on the perimeter. Obviously, he has some work to be done to get better at that. But I think he has, pretty good lateral quickness. He's a great movement shooter. He's a great, off-ball player. So, playing alongside a player like Trae Young, you can definitely see that working. And even if they don't go, even if they move off of Trae Young and they keep DeJounte, that could work as well. Or if they get rid of both players, which I don't see them doing, especially since the Spurs have all their picks, so I don't really see them getting rid of Trae Young or DeJounte and doing a full rebuild. But yeah, I could definitely see them picking Zachary Reese-Shea come draft night. Now with the number 2 overall pick with the Washington Wizards here, if you're the Wizards, you're living on cloud 9 right now. You were hoping Alex Sarr would fall to you somehow, some way, and I think this is the best possible outcome for this team. This team just needs, overall talent. I don't really think this is a team that you can really draft for a position, but luckily for them, it is a position in need. There was a void whenever they got rid of Daniel Gafford and traded him to the Mavericks. So Alex Sarr, he's great defensively. He can definitely provide a great interior defense. I actually think he's pretty great out in the perimeter defensively. If you've seen any of my old mock draft videos, I compared him to like a taller Bam Adebayo out on the perimeter defense. He's very, very quick. I know a lot of people compared him to Jaren Jackson. I personally think he's very, much more comparable to Evan Mobley as far as play style, only because Jaren Jackson is more polished offensively than Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr, there's a lot to be desired, but there's a lot of promising upside that you can see in him, especially if he can develop an outside shot, more consistent shot at the 3-point. So if he develops that, I think he is the best prospect coming out of this year's draft, and he's actually number 1 on my big board. So yeah, Washington Wizards, run to the podium, and they can't wait to say Alex Sarr's name here. Now, number 3 for the Houston Rockets. You can see it happen 2 ways. If they decide to trade, this pick, I can definitely see whatever team trading up will end up picking Donovan Clingan for the most part, because all the rumors, are going to be either like OKC or Memphis Grizzlies trading up for the number 3 overall pick. And, if they're doing that, they obviously want Donovan Clingan on their team. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to, be making any trades, which I understand that's probably unrealistic. Realistically, once draft night does come, I'm pretty sure there is going to be a lot of trades that'll happen, or a lot of potential trades. I'm gonna have them take Reed Sheppard here. I think Reed Sheppard complements this team too much, a lot more than Donovan Clingan does, especially since they already have Alperen Şengün. I know the Houston Rockets were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams last year, so they obviously need some 3-point shooting. They need someone who can space the floor, and they obviously need someone to long term to replace Fred VanVleet. With them not being the same timeline, Fred VanVleet's a little older comparable to the other core players on the team like Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green. So I can see Reed Shepherd, learning a lot from Fred VanVleet with them being pretty much the same size. Both of them being pesky defenders and both of them being able to space the floor. So hopefully he can learn, a lot from him. But also, I know that the Rockets drafted Amen Thompson with hopes, of him being their future point guard. So if Amen Thompson is the future point guard and you have, a player like Reed Shepherd playing alongside him, I think, that he complements the team, a lot with, them two playing together. And it could also be a backup plan, right? If Amen Thompson doesn't develop playmaking wise the way you'd hope to, then you have Reed Shepherd who can hopefully, take that torch and, lead this team playmaking. So yeah, I think, this is a match made in heaven for this team. And I honestly hope he falls to my Spurs at the 4th overall pick, but, who knows what happens. So I hope the Rockets somehow, some way trade this pick and, whoever trades for them take Donovan Clingan so we can take, Reed Shepherd at 4, but I guess we'll see what happens. Now, for the 4th overall pick, with everything that I'm hearing, I know that the Spurs are really, really high on Stephon Castle. They love his size being listed at 6'5". They love his playmaking upside, being that he's played with a big center at UConn. He's played alongside Donovan Clingan. He showed the ability to, drop the ball down low and give the ball to the center, which is something that we definitely need on this team. There's a lot of times with, I would watch a lot of games where I'm just like, how can you not give the ball to Victor Wembanyama? It's a simple drop entry pass where you can just throw it up over the defender and just give it to him. He's 7'5", so there's not a lot of players who can get to that pass, right? You throw it high enough, he's really going to be the only one who can get that pass. So, if the Spurs were willing to try Jeremy Sohan at the point guard, I think they'll for sure give Stephon Castle a try at the point guard. I'm personally not too high on his playmaking skills, but I can definitely see the upside in it with him, playing with Donovan Clingan. At least he's capable of making those entry passes down low. So that's all that I can ask for, I guess. And hopefully he can develop more into a lob passer, pick and roll passer. Hit it in the pocket. So hopefully that develops more, right? If we do pick him. At the very least, I know that he'll be a great defender. Hopefully he's a all NBA defensive caliber player, and maybe he can model his game after Drew Holiday or Derek White, or maybe even Jimmy Butler, right? And I hope he develops more of a 3-point shot. With our team, we were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. There were several times where Victor Wembanyama would play pick and roll with Trey Jones, and it was really hard to get the ball to Victor because Trey Jones not having the ability to shoot. So at the very least, I hope Stephon Castle can develop into a 35% 3-point shooter, so it's a little bit respectable. And everything that I'm hearing with him is that he's a hard worker, he's a gym rat, and he's willing to put in the work. So I hope that's true. And if we do decide to pick him, there's no doubt in my mind that the Spurs will develop him in the right way. Now for the Detroit Pistons, there's a lot of rumors of Matas Buzelis being linked to this team. I believe he has either a family member or a friend who works on the staff or something like that. So, but even if that's not the case, Matas Buzelis I think can be a great fit, especially if he develops a 3-point shot. I know in high school he did shoot about 40% coming out of high school, and then as he went to the G League, that kind of took a dip, but that's kind of understandable, right? With him being one of the best players, if not the best player on the G League Ignite, and with the opposing teams focusing on their defense on stopping him, it was a easier game plan for them to limit his or to affect his shot. So I can definitely see why his shot took a dip. So when you have players like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asor Thompson, who love to drive it to the rim and who could drive and kick, I think that'll just create a lot of open shots from Matas Buzelis, and I'm pretty sure he'll get a lot of open corner shots. So at the very least, if he can develop a corner shot, then I think this would be a great fit for him. He can slide in right at the small forward or power forward position, just depending on where you want to put Asar Thompson. And another thing with Modest is that he's really really good defensively, right? He's a great off-ball defender. He's a great rim protector, so he can fit alongside Jalen Duren and really hold down the interior defense. And then in perimeter, you have players like Cade and Asar who can take those matchups for you, so that way you don't really have to be out there in the perimeter. I know he's not bad, Modest at the perimeter, but I think he's more better interior on his defense. So, and then again with Modest, he was a highly recruited high school player. I think he was at least top three, if not number one, coming out of high school. So there's a lot of things to like. There's a lot of upside that you can see in him. He can definitely, you can see that he could play out the post. He could pick and pop. He has a pretty good handle for him being 6'8", 6'9". So yeah, I mean, I think sky's the limit for him if he develops that shot. So for the Charlotte Hornets here, I know that they were intrigued with Dalton Connect, but honestly, I think this team really needs defense, and I think that's where they'll go. I think they'll just take best player available here, and I think they'll take Donovan Clingan. I know that they have Mark Williams, but with his injury history, I don't think, if I'm the GM or if I'm the owner of this team, I'm not really, I don't see him being a promising starting center with all the injuries that he's had, right? So at the very least, one of them could be benched. And maybe, like a lot of people compare Donovan Clingan to Rudy Gobert and Walker Kessler. So if he's anything like Rudy Gobert, then, you have a player who can, bring your team to like a top 10, top 5 defense, hopefully. And, having a interior presence down low, I think boosts the team overall's defense a lot more than a perimeter defender. So I see them taking the best player available with Donovan Clingan. And, just some of the draft combine videos that I've seen him take, open 3-point shots. It looks pretty good, actually. So playing with a Miller ball, I think that'll just help him, right? You have a good playmaker. He could be a lob threat. And if he can develop that 3-point shot and show that he can consistently hit that, at least the open ones, then, maybe he could be the next like Brook Lopez / Rudy Gobert. So if you're the Hornets, I think that's a good cornerstone to have, paired up with LaMelo and Brandon Miller. So for the Portland Trailblazers, I know I used to watch a lot of their draft analysts or their GM, right? He used to make a lot of videos. I forgot his name, but one thing I noticed with him, he was always high on upside, right? He always saw like players with their highest potential. And to me, I think the player left on the board with the highest potential is Ron Holland. I know there's slight of a, it's not too great of a fit with Scoot Henderson. With the fact that Scoot and Ron Holland can't shoot the three, so maybe they don't complement each other as well as you wish they could. But if Ron Holland can, look at the blueprint that Jeremy Grant has left for this team, right? Because Jeremy Grant was not a great 3-point shooter either coming out of college. And look at him now. He's developed to a pretty decent 3-point shooter, right? So if he could model his game after Jeremy Grant, at least to start his career, then, I think that'll be, a great fit. I do think that Ron Holland can develop into a more better player than Jeremy Grant with, how hard he plays, the hustle, the heart, how much heart he has. He's great in transition. He's great defensively, like Jeremy Grant. So I think him and Jeremy Grant, play similar in that aspect. But out in transition, I think Scoot Henderson and Ron Holland will be like a highlight reel waiting to happen. They have a lot of high flyers on this team. Anthony Simons being a former dunk contest winner. Shaden Sharp, who's a high flyer himself, and he could also space the floor. So it's not too bad, right? Because if you do decide to keep Jeremy Grant, you have Jeremy Grant, you have Anthony Simons, you have Shaden Sharp, who all can space the floor. DeAndre Ayton can at least shoot it, a mid-range shot, so he can space it a little bit. But yeah, I think they go Ron Holland here with hopes with him, reaching his peak and hopes that that he can develop that 3-point shot. Okay, so for the San Antonio Spurs, I know that they're high on Devin Carter and they're high on Tejan Salon, right? So being that they already picked Stephon Castle, and if it falls that way, I don't foresee them taking Devin Carter at 8 since they have, their future point guard for the team. So I see them taking Tejan Salon here. I know that him and Wimby have that French connection, right? They're both from the same country. I believe they played with each other in the past, and I know that they were close because of their sisters or something like that. I think their sisters played on the same team, so they kind of grew up with each other a little bit. They definitely do keep in contact. I have seen interviews of Victor Wembanyama talking highly about Tejan Salon, and everything that I hear from draft analysts, everyone's saying that he's a hard worker, and that he's not afraid to really put in the work. So one thing I will say with Tejan Salon is that he's very, very raw, comparable to Giannis and how raw he was coming out of whatever EuroLeague that he came from. Tejan Salon's very lengthy compared to Giannis, right? He's like 6'8", 6'9", without shoes, so maybe like 6'10", around there with shoes. He's actually pretty athletic. A lot of different draft draft boards that I've seen, like on the Ringer or what was it, Bleacher Report, other ones like that. A lot of them compared him to like Obi Toppin. So if you're compared to Obi Toppin, you got to be pretty athletic, right? And all the videos that I've seen, he's shown that he's able to make the open 3-point shot. I know he didn't shoot it at a great clip, right? He didn't shoot it at like 40% or anything like that, but he definitely showed some promise with his form. Again, he seems capable of taking them. He seems capable of hitting them, and the Spurs have shown that we can develop young talent, right? Look at Kawhi Leonard, look at Keldon Johnson, look at Devin Vassell, right? We've shown that we can develop young talent, and yeah, I mean, if he's a hard worker, I think that he'll be in the great hands with the Spurs, and he'll be in a great system with Popovich, and I think he'll excel. So at the very least, I can see him taking Julian Champagne's starting role at the small forward or power forward position, wherever you want to put him. He can be interchangeable with Jeremy Sohan, and yeah, I mean, if he's a worker, I think sky's the limit. Okay, so for the ninth overall pick, I think the Memphis Grizzlies want a center here, right? They would hope for Donovan Clingan, but again, being that there's no trades done here right now, I think they go with the next available best talent at the center position, and I think they go Zach Edey here, with him he being a win ready now type player, and with the Memphis Grizzlies, wanting to make the playoffs, and they have history of making the playoffs. And with them always being a high seed, with the exception of last year, obviously because of injuries and John Morant being out, the suspension and things like that. But they've shown that they're able to play with a player like Zach Edey. They've had Steven Adams, right? They've had Jaren Jackson play the 4 spot. Jaren Jackson's capable of making 3-point shots, right? In fact, he's one of the best big shooters in the league. So I think he'll gladly move to the power forward, position. Even though he's capable of playing the 5, I don't think he prefers to play the 5. So you put Zach Edey at your starting center, and you just tell him, he doesn't have to focus on scoring. Although he, as you can see, he's more than capable, right? He's averaged about 25 points in college. He led his team to, very, very far in the NCAA tournament. And yeah, but when you have players like Jaren Jackson and John Morant, I don't think your number one priority should be to score. Your number one priority should be to rebound. Again, averaging 12.2 rebounds. He's listed 7'3", and big body. Look at his weight, 299 pounds. So I mean, he's definitely a big boy. So if he can translate that into the NBA, and average a double-double, I think this is a great fit for this team. I know he's known to be the best screen setter. So him paired up with John Morant, I think that's, man, I mean, I think they'll love the fit here with Zach Edey. He's also shown that he's capable of shooting the 3-point shot, and I actually believe in his shot too. I think he'll be capable of at least hitting the open 3-point shot. So, yeah, I think they take Zach Edey here. Okay, so for the Utah Jazz, I can see them going a couple of different options, right? I can see them going Dalton Connect, and I can see them going Nikola Topic. But I think they're going to opt in to go for a player with more upside than Dalton Connect. I think they'll actually go with Nikola Topic, regardless of his injury, right? I know he did have a partial ACL tear. But with this team, I think you can afford to be a little patient when you have players like Colin Sexton and Keontae George already at your point guard. And the only reason why I think they go Nikola Topic is because they don't have a pure distributor on this team, right? I look at Keontae George and I look at Colin Sexton, and I see them more as scoring guards than I do true playmaking guards, right? So I think if you bring Nikola Topic in, I think he'll be a great distributor to Larry Markkinen, Colin Sexton, Keontae George. I think he'll just provide them a lot of open shots. And if you keep John Collins, he could definitely, throw lobs to him. And if Nikola Topic develops a 3-point shot, which seems to be, a common thing with a lot of these draft, prospects, all of them just need to develop a shot. And, with any of these guys, right? If a lot of these guys develop a 3-point shot, they'll probably go number one, right? Who knows? But that seems to be a common thing with a lot of these draft prospects. But if Nikola Topic can develop a shot, I know people were comparing him to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, which I always felt that was kind of a long shot because Shea's a lot better defensively than Nikola Topic, but I guess I kind of see it with him being a taller point guard listed at 6'5", maybe like 6'6" to 6'7" with shoes. So yeah, I think they just go Nikola Topic with the hopes that he can develop into somewhat like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, even though I don't see it like that. But yeah, I think they pick Nikola Topic here. So for the Chicago Bulls, I think being that they got Josh Giddey on this team, I don't see them taking a point guard. They have Josh Giddey, they have Kobe White, they have Ayo DeSumo, right? There's no way they go a point guard. But then again, they are the Bulls, so maybe they do go point guard. Who knows? Maybe they pick Devin Carter. But with all the reports of Zach LaVine, wanting to be traded, and with Zach LaVine, with the Chicago Bulls having like 15 trades for Zach LaVine, I think it's inevitable that he gets traded. So, excuse me, I think they need like a small forward who can play like shooting guard, anywhere between like shooting guard to power forward. I think that's the position at need. I don't think they go center just because there's not a lot of centers with a lot of upside here. I think they go like Cody Williams or Dalton Connect. And I think they're ultimately going to pick Cody Williams just because he's younger. He's 19 years old. Dalton Connect's 23, and I think Dalton Connect is a more of a win ready now type player. And with this team, with them on the verge of starting a rebuild, I don't foresee them picking Dalton Connect when they're not ready to make the playoffs just yet. Right? I think they choose Cody Williams in hopes that he could be something like his brother, J-Dub in OKC. Right? Cody Williams is compared to Jaden McDaniels with him being lengthy. I think he has great wingspan. He's listed at 6'6", but again, that's without shoes. So when you add shoes, he's probably like 6'7", 6'8", somewhere around there. He's shown that he's capable of shooting the 3-point shot. And, when you have a player like Josh Giddey, you need players around him to make the open threes. Cody Williams has also shown that he's, capable of playing off ball. He doesn't really need the ball to be effective. But, when you're picking a player like Cody Williams, you hope that he develops, some type of self-creation. So, yeah, I think they go Cody Williams here with the upside and hopefulness of him being a two-way player. Okay, so for the OKC Thunder, I can definitely see them picking Dalton Connect, but I don't know, man. I have a hunch feeling that they're gonna go for a center, right? When you look at the teams out in the West and look at the teams that the OKC Thunder is gonna have to go through, right? Obviously, I'm biased. They're gonna have to go through my Spurs, right? I know that we didn't make the playoffs last year, but they're gonna have to go through us eventually, right? But in the meantime, even if we don't make the playoffs, they're gonna have to go through Denver Nuggets, They're gonna have to go through the Timberwolves. They're gonna have to go through the Mavs, right? The team that they lost to. And look at the players that they have. They have Nikola Jokic on the Nuggets. You have Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns on the Wolves. You have Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford on the Mavs, and even look at the Lakers. They have Anthony Davis. So I think you just need bodies, bigger bodies, players who can get you rebounds. And although Chet has shown he's capable of playing the center, I think he's versatile enough to move to the power forward position when need be, especially when you play those bigger teams, right? So with that in mind, I think they go with the defensive-minded center. I don't think they go with Kyle Filipowski just because I think there's a better defensive center out there, and Yves Messi and Khalil Ware. And I'm going to go Khalil Ware here because he's shown that he's able to, make the open three ball. And I think you need spacing around, Shea. But yeah, I mean, at the very least, Khalil Ware can be a player similar to Nicholas Claxton, right? He's a lob threat. He's great at interior defense. He can block some shots. And yeah, I mean, as long as he can make the open three shot, I think that'll be a great fit for him, a great fit for this team. And yeah, I mean, it just gives you more depth at the center position. And I think they ultimately go with the center over a player like Dalton Connect because they already have a lot of scoring. They have Isaiah Joe. They have good, bench pieces. They didn't draft, but they traded for Alex Caruso. So, yeah, I think they go with the center. All right, so for the Sacramento Kings, I can see them go Dalton Connect as well, but I could also see them go Devin Carter, right? Devin Carter, I believe he averaged, let's see, yeah, 19 points. So, and then Dalton Connect averaged 21 points. So there's only like a 2 point difference in college. So, but the thing with Devin Carter is he's way better defensively, right? He's compared to Drew Holiday at his peak. If he can reach his peak, I think he be similar to Drew Holiday. But he's also compared to like Derek White, Alex Caruso, that type of build, right? That type of player. I know he's listed at 6'2", but surprisingly enough, he tied for like the highest vertical in the draft combine. He tied with Reed Shepherd, which is kind of crazy, right? Them being one of the smallest players in the draft, but yeah, I mean he's just a pesky defender, man. He has a long wingspan. He can shoot the three. I believe he shot about like 37%, and even if you don't want to start him alongside De'Aaron Fox, I think he'd be a great bench piece. Right, because you look at their backup point guard, it's Davion Mitchell, and he only has like 1 year left. So you take Devin Carter with hopes that he could be your backup point guard, or maybe your starting shooting guard if you feel like it's okay that you can play him and De'Aaron Fox at the same time. And yeah, I mean this team just needs perimeter defense. I think like their best perimeter defenders were like Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell. So Devin Carter just adds, another player to that. And yeah, I mean, I just see him as a winning type player, right? And right now, the Sacramento Kings need winning type players, especially when, they want to make the playoffs every year. All right, so for the 14th overall pick here, I think the Blazers, I really don't think they go Rob Dillingham. And, it sucks because I'm a big Rob Dillingham fan, and I hate to see him fall. But, unfortunately, someone does have to fall. And the way this mock draft fell is, it's falling. It's showing that Rob Dillingham's going to fall, unfortunately. I see them taking Dalton Connect here. I think they just want to stack up on, forward play. Anyone who can play like shooting guard through power forward, and being that they already have Shaden Sharp, they have Scoot Henderson, they have Anthony Simons, so they definitely don't need Rob on there to add to that mix. I think they go Dalton Connect, someone who's a little older, right? Hopefully can show the younger guys what it takes to win. Hopefully shows them some good habits, right? And I think he complements Scoot Henderson and Ron Holland a ton, right? He's a great off-ball shooter. one of the best 3-point shooters, one of the best scorers in the draft. He's shown that he's capable of getting really, really hot. He's capable of leading a team and being your best offensive player. I believe he's had like 30 and 40-point games in the NCAA tournament. So he's shown that he's a bona fide scorer, 3-level scorer. He's pretty bouncy. He can catch lobs. He could dunk on you if you get caught lacking. And yeah, I think he'd be a great fit for this team. And yeah, I think overall the Blazers will look at their top 2 picks, Ron Holland and Dalton Connect, and run away pretty happy with their selections here. All right, man. So that's going to do it for the NBA Draft Lottery video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you are new. Please, go to the comments and tell me what you would do for your favorite team here. I tried my best. Again, this draft is very, very unpredictable. A lot of these players have a wide range as far as where they can fall. So, and I know this is probably not the way it's going to happen, right? Being that, teams are going to make trades. I do think like Rockets can trade. I think the Hawks can potentially trade with my Spurs. I can see the Grizzlies trading up. I can see OKC trading up. Maybe even the Kings. Right, there's a lot of rumors going around, so it'd be interesting and it'd be really, really fun to see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, man, thank you for supporting me, and yeah, I appreciate it.